Hey everyone, and welcome back to the FAQ Shack. This is the show where we tackle your most burning questions about, well, all things gaming, tech, and internet culture. Today, we're jumping into a world where taking 100 hours to finish a game is, well, it's not the goal. How about finishing it in under 7 minutes?
All right, let's kick things off with a great question from a listener who goes by Controller Connoisseur. They ask, what's the deal with playing games as fast as humanly possible? First off, amazing question. It's going to take us deep into the wild world of speedrunning. And hey, just a reminder, if you've got a question you want us to tackle, drop it in the comments below. You might just see it in a future explainer.
Okay, so to really get how insane this all is, check this out. On the left, you've got Super Mario 64 back in 1996. The goal? Simple. Just beat the game. But on the right, you see today's goal. Beat the same game in under 7 minutes using something called arbitrary code execution. Now that sounds super technical, right? But what it really means is that players got so good, they figured out how to literally rewrite the game's code while playing it. They can basically just tell the game, hey, roll the credits now, and it does. So the big question is, how on earth did we get from just playing the game to performing this kind of digital magic? Well, that's the story of speedrunning. So you might think this is a pretty modern thing, an internet obsession. But honestly, the need for speed has been part of gaming since the very beginning. It really started way back in the arcades with high score chasing, and from there, it just exploded into this massive, global, super competitive scene we have today.
And the way it all evolved is just fascinating. I mean, the 80s were all about getting your initials on that arcade high school screen. But the real game changer? That was Doom, back in '93. See, Doom didn't just let you compete. It gave players the tools to record what they did, to prove it, and to share it. And that right there led to the very first online leaderboard, the LMP Hall of Fame in 1994. Just a few years after that, Quake done Quick came along and basically popularized running through the entire game, not just one level at a time. The whole thing just snowballed.
So what made Doom so special? What was the secret sauce? Well, it was a couple of brilliant features. First, it had these in-game recordings called demos. Now, these weren't video files. Remember, this was the early 90s internet. You couldn't just upload a giant video. Instead, they were these tiny little files that just recorded your keystrokes. And because they were so small, you could easily share them online to prove your record was legit. You add that to the fact that the game had part times to beat on every level, and boom, you've got the perfect recipe for the first ever online competitive community, all built by the fans. And really, this whole idea is captured perfectly by this quote from Kottke.org. It says, players take what is given and build something else out of it. It's a kind of subversion, a subtle power play of guerrilla game design. And that's it right there. That's the heart of speedrunning. It's not just about being good at a game. It's about taking it apart, seeing how it ticks, and then using those pieces to build a completely new kind of challenge the designers never even dreamed of.
Okay, but as this whole thing got bigger, it ran into a pretty big problem. If the whole point is to break the game's intended rules, then who makes the rules for the competition? It's a great question, right? And the answer, which is pretty cool, was the community.
So to make sure everyone was racing fairly, the community came up with different categories, each with its own set of rules. You've got any percent, which is probably the most famous one. The goal there is simple. Just get to the end credits as fast as possible. No rules, no holes barred. Then there's 100% where you have to collect absolutely everything. Low percent is the total opposite. Beat the game with as little stuff as you can. And of course, for the purists, there's glitchless, where you can't use any bugs at all. It's like each category is its own separate sport, all within the same game.
And this brings us to another great question from the mailbag. This one's from glitch_is_good, who asks something that honestly almost everyone wonders at first. Wait, so using glitches isn't cheating? It's a super common question and a really good one, so let's break it down.
Okay, so here's the key thing to remember. The game developers don't make the rules for speedrunning. The community does. It's the players who decide, together, what counts as a glitch versus what's an actual cheat, like, say, using an external device. And that whole category system we just talked about, that's the solution. You want to use some crazy game-breaking bug? Awesome, go compete in the any percent category. You'd rather play the game exactly as the developers intended? Perfect, there's a glitchless category for you. It means that no matter how you want to play, there's a fair race waiting for you. But the community didn't stop there. Pretty soon, speedrunning became more than just playing a game really well. It evolved into this deep, highly technical, almost scientific process. It was about reverse engineering games, picking them apart to find every single tiny flaw you could possibly exploit. And the legendary speedrunner Narcissa Wright said it best when she was talking about the early days of running Ocarina of Time. She said,
It felt more like we were doing science than anything else. And get this, for a solid 2 years, that community wasn't really even trying to set new records. They were basically in the lab, just cataloging every glitch they could find and systematically testing the absolute limits of the game engine. This super scientific mindset gave birth to a whole other discipline, the Tool-Assisted Speedrun, or TAS for short. So what's a TAS? Basically, it's a speedrun made using emulator software. We're talking about tools that let you advance the game frame by frame, or retry a tricky jump 1,000 times until it's perfect. The point isn't to show off human skill. The point is to create a theoretically perfect run, to find out what is the absolute fastest possible time the game's code will even allow. The best analogy I've ever heard for this is music. A regular speedrun, what we call a real-time attack, or RTA, is like a live concert. It's raw, it's unedited, it's all about that live human performance. A TAS, on the other hand, is like a studio album. It's been tweaked and polished and perfected over time to create something that would be impossible to replicate live. They're not competing with each other. They're just two different ways of making art. And what's really cool is how these two worlds work together. You can think of the TAS community as the research and development department for the human runners. The TASers will go in, they'll pick the game apart frame by frame, and they'll discover some new trick that everyone thought was impossible. They prove it can be done. And that gives the human players a new goal, a new blueprint to follow, a new holy grail to chase after in real time. Then, of course, came live streaming. Platforms like Twitch completely changed the game. Suddenly, this super niche hobby was broadcast to millions, and it just exploded into a global phenomenon. And with that huge new audience, the community realized something amazing. They could use this passion to do a whole lot of good in the world. I mean, just look at this number. $59.8 million. Let that sink in. That is how much money one event, Games Done Quick, has raised for charities like Doctors Without Borders and the Prevent Cancer Foundation. It's absolutely staggering. And GDQ is just the tip of the iceberg. There are huge charity marathons all over the globe now. You've got the European Speedrunner Assembly, or ESA. There's RPG Limit Break, which, you guessed it, is all about role-playing games. And there's also Frame Fatales, which is an amazing all-female event that highlights the incredible women in the speedrunning scene. And that really gets at what modern speedrunning is all about, this incredibly tight-knit global community. There's this great story from Mocha, who's a big event organizer in Japan. He talked about how an American admin from a major speedrun site saw a run by a Japanese player named Hotterbooty and called it the most surprising run in the last 10 years. That right there shows you the kind of mutual respect and collaboration that exists, totally crossing language and cultural barriers. So when you boil it all down, we're right back where we started with that idea of subversion. Speedrunning has proven that playing a game isn't just about following the rules laid out for you. It's about taking the pieces you're given and building something totally new, something the creators never could have predicted. It's creative, it's collaborative, and honestly, it's a beautifully subversive art form. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What does it say about us, about human nature, that we find just as much joy, if not more, in completely breaking games as we do in playing them the right way? That our drive to see how things take, to pull them apart, is just as strong as our desire to enjoy them as they were meant to be. And that's all we've got for today. A massive shout out to Controller Connoisseur for the awesome question that sent us down this rabbit hole. Hey, if you've got a burning question you want answered here at the FAQ Shock, you know what to do. Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out.